Hello, and welcome back. I am so glad you are here with me today. Today, I want to ask you a question. It is a question that might feel heavy. It is a question that many of us are too afraid to ask out loud. But I want us to be brave together. Here is the question. Deep down, do you worry that you are a bad person? Do you sometimes feel that if people really knew you, if they could see inside your mind and see your darkest thoughts, they would not love you? This is a very painful fear. It is the fear that there is a mistake in your design. You might feel that everyone else is normal, kind, and good, but you are different. You might feel that you are pretending to be good, but inside you are selfish, angry, or broken. This feeling creates a heavy load. You carry it around with you every day. It makes you feel tired. It makes you feel anxious. You spend so much energy trying to hide this bad part of yourself. You try to be perfect. You try to be nice. But the fear does not go away. I want to tell you something very important right now. Please listen closely. You are not a bad person. You are not broken. You are not a mistake. The feelings you are fighting, the anger, the jealousy, the strange desires, do not mean you are evil. They mean you are human. In psychology, specifically in the work of Carl Jung, we have a name for this hidden part of you. We call it the shadow. The shadow is not a monster. It is simply the part of yourself that you have not accepted yet. It is the part of you that lives in the dark because you were afraid to bring it into the light. Today, we are going to stop running from this fear. We are going to turn around and look at it. We will discover that this badness is not what you think it is. In fact, it might be the source of your greatest strength. So, let us look closer. What is this thing we call the shadow? What is this badness that we try so hard to hide? When we are children, we are whole. We are complete. A baby cries when it is angry. It laughs when it is happy. It grabs food when it is hungry. A baby does not judge itself. A baby does not think, "Oh, I am being selfish for wanting this milk." It just is. But as we grow up, we learn that some behaviors are not allowed. Imagine your personality is like a big house. When you are born, you live in all the rooms. You use the living room, the kitchen, the bedroom, and the basement. But then your parents or your teachers tell you, "Don't be angry, anger is bad." So you take your anger and you put it in the basement. You lock the door. Then society says, "Don't be selfish, you must always share." So you take your natural desire to keep things for yourself and you put that in the basement too. Then maybe you feel sexual desire, or you feel lazy, or you feel proud. But you learn that these things are sins or rude. So, one by one, you take these parts of yourself and you shove them into the dark basement. This basement is your shadow. The shadow is not just evil. This is a very common misunderstanding. The shadow is simply everything about you that you have rejected. It contains the things society calls negative, like aggression, greed, or jealousy. But, and this is very important, it also contains wonderful things. If you were taught that being loud is bad, you might have hidden your confidence in the basement. If you were taught that being emotional is weak, you might have hidden your passion in the basement. Carl Jung, the founder of this type of psychology, taught us that the shadow is 90% pure gold. It is raw material. Think of it like electricity. Is electricity bad? No. Electricity can shock you and hurt you. But electricity also gives us light and power. It is just energy. Your shadow is your hidden energy. It is your raw instinct. It is the part of you that wants to survive. It is the part of you that wants to create. When you think, "I am a bad person," what you are really feeling is the pressure of this energy. You are feeling the banging on the door of the basement. It is not a monster trying to kill you. It is just the rest of you trying to come back home. If the shadow is just energy, why does it feel so heavy? Why does it feel like guilt? The answer lies in shame. Guilt and shame are different. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Most of us were taught to feel shame when we were very young. We wanted to be loved by our parents. For a child, being loved is the most important thing in the world. It is a matter of survival. We cannot survive without our caregivers. So, when a parent looks at us with anger or disappointment, it is terrifying. If our father says, "Stop crying, you are acting like a baby," we feel a deep fear. We think, if I cry, I am not lovable. If I am not lovable, I will die. So, we make a deal with ourselves. We decide to cut off the part of us that cries. We decide to cut off the part of us that gets angry. We create a mask. We create a personality that is pleasing, polite, and safe. We present this nice mask to the world. We say, "Look, I am a good person. Please love me." But the parts we cut off do not disappear. They sit in the shadow. And because we pushed them away with fear, they begin to feel dangerous to us. Every time you feel a little bit of anger or a little bit of selfishness, that old childhood fear comes back. You feel that you are breaking the rules. You feel that you are in danger of being rejected. This constant effort to hide creates chronic low self-worth. You cannot feel good about yourself because you know you are hiding a secret. You feel like a fraud. You feel like an actor on a stage, hoping no one sees who you really are behind the curtain. You might think, if I just try harder to be good, the shame will go away. But this does not work. The harder you try to be perfect, the darker your shadow becomes. The brighter the light, the darker the shadow. By trying to be a saint, you are actually making yourself feel more like a sinner. You are increasing the distance between your mask and your true self. This split, this war between who you pretend to be and who you really are, is the source of your suffering. Now I want to talk about the cost of this war. What happens when you keep so much of yourself locked in the basement? You lose your power. Imagine you are trying to walk up a hill, but you are dragging a heavy bag of rocks behind you. That is what repression feels like. It takes a huge amount of mental energy to keep the door to the basement locked. You are constantly holding it shut, even when you are sleeping. This is why so many of us feel tired all the time. We are exhausted from fighting ourselves. But there is another cost. When you lock away your bad traits, you also lock away the good qualities that are attached to them. Let's look at anger. Many people think anger is bad, so they become very passive. They let people walk all over them. They cannot say no. They lose their ability to defend themselves. But healthy anger is necessary. Healthy anger is the energy that says, "Stop. This is my boundary. Do not cross it." Without access to your aggression, you cannot protect yourself. You cannot be assertive at work. You cannot fight for what is right. Let's look at selfishness. We are taught to never be selfish. But if you completely repress selfishness, you lose the ability to practice self-care. You might give everything to others until you are empty. You burn out. You need a little bit of selfishness to say, "I need to rest now. I need to take care of myself." Let's look at pride. If you repress pride, you might have low self-esteem. You might be afraid to show your talents. You become invisible. But healthy pride allows you to say, "I did a good job. I am worthy of respect." Do you see? The shadow holds your vitality. It holds your life force. When you feel flat or depressed or unmotivated, it is often because you have cut yourself off from your shadow. You have become too good. You have become harmless. But a harmless person is not a strong person. A harmless person is weak. To be truly strong, you need access to all your tools. You need to be able to be dangerous when necessary and kind when necessary. By hiding your shadow, you have made yourself smaller than you were meant to be. There is a famous saying in psychology, "What you resist persists." This means that the more you fight against something, the stronger it gets. When you ignore the shadow, it does not sit quietly in the basement. It gets hungry. It gets restless. It wants to be seen. If you do not open the door voluntarily, the shadow will kick the door down. This is when we see self-sabotage. Have you ever promised yourself you would be healthy, but then you ate an entire cake in one night? Have you ever tried to be calm, but then suddenly exploded in rage over a small problem? Have you ever tried to be a loyal partner, but found yourself feeling attracted to dangerous situations? This is the shadow acting out. Because you did not give these energies a healthy outlet, they took an unhealthy one. When the shadow takes over like this, we feel terrible afterwards. We feel deep guilt. We think, "See, I knew it. I am a bad person. I have no self-control." So, what do? We punish ourselves. We promise to be even stricter next time. We add more locks to the basement door. We try to be even better. But this just restarts the cycle. You try to be perfect. The pressure builds up in the shadow. The shadow explodes. You act out. You feel guilt and shame. You try to be perfect again. This is a trap. You cannot win this game. As long as you believe that parts of you are evil and must be destroyed, you will be stuck in this loop of self-destruction. The shadow is like a child. If you ignore a child, they will scream to get your attention. If you listen to the child, they will calm down. We need to stop trying to kill the shadow. We need to start listening to it. Before we talk about how to fix this, we need to understand one more way the shadow tricks us. It is called projection. When we cannot accept a quality in ourselves, we often see it in other people. If you are a person who works very hard and never allows yourself to rest, you might hate lazy people. When you see someone relaxing, you feel angry. You judge them. You think, they are so useless. Why does this make you so angry? Because deep down your shadow is saying, I want to rest too. Why do they get to rest and I don't? But the most painful projection is the one we turn on ourselves. This is the inner critic. Often the badness you feel is actually your own judgment attacking you. You have a voice in your head that sounds like a strict teacher or an angry parent. It watches everything you do. If you make a small mistake, the voice says, you are stupid. If you feel lazy, the voice says, you are worthless. This voice is actually a form of defense. It is your mind trying to punish you before the world punishes you. It thinks it is helping you. It thinks, if I beat him up, he will be good and he will be safe. But it is not helping. It is paralyzing you. This constant self-condemnation makes you feel small. It makes you feel like a criminal who is always on trial. When you ask, am I a bad person? It is usually this inner critic asking the question. And the inner critic is biased. It only looks for evidence of your guilt. It ignores all the evidence of your goodness. We must learn to recognize this voice. We must learn to say, I hear you, but I do not agree with you. So, how do we break this cycle? How do we stop feeling like a bad person? The answer is awareness. We must turn around and face the shadow. This requires great courage. It is scary to look at the parts of ourselves we have hidden for so long. But Carl Jung gave us a beautiful quote about this. He said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This means you cannot find peace by just thinking happy thoughts. You find peace by accepting your darkness. Here is the most important rule. Observation is not the same as action. Many people are afraid to look at their shadow because they think, if I admit I am angry, I might hurt someone. Or, if I admit I have dark desires, I might do something terrible. No, the opposite is true. If you ignore your anger, you might hurt someone by accident. If you see your anger, you can control it. When you look at your shadow, you must do it with curiosity, not judgment. You must be like a scientist studying a new animal. Instead of saying, I am bad because I feel jealous, try saying, oh, look at that. I am feeling jealousy right now. That is interesting. I wonder what that feeling wants. Maybe the jealousy is telling you that you are not satisfied with your own life. Maybe it is a signal that you need to work harder on your own goals. When you look at the shadow without judging it, it stops being a monster. It becomes information. It becomes a part of you that you can talk to. This is the beginning of healing. You stop being a person who is fighting evil. You become a person who is simply getting to know yourself. Once we accept that we have a shadow, we can achieve something very special. We can achieve true moral strength. There is a big difference between being harmless and being good. A rabbit is harmless. It cannot hurt you. But is the rabbit moral? Is the rabbit a good person? No. The rabbit is just weak. It has no choice. To be truly good, you must have the capacity for badness, but the discipline to choose goodness. If you know you have a sharp tongue and can hurt people with your words, but you choose to speak kindly, that is virtue. That is strength. If you know you could be selfish, but you choose to be generous, that is love. Accepting your shadow gives you this choice. When you integrate your shadow, you stop being a victim of your impulses. You become the master of your house. Imagine you're in a frustrating meeting. You feel the anger rising. The repressed person pushes the anger down, smiles falsely, later goes home and yells at their family because the pressure is too high. The integrated person feels the anger, acknowledges it inside. I am angry. My shadow wants to fight. But they do not act on it blindly. They use that energy to speak firmly. They say, I disagree with this plan. We need to do it this way. This is how you turn shame into power. You take the energy of the shadow and you channel it into something constructive. You stop wasting energy on hiding. You stop wasting energy on guilt. And suddenly, you have so much more energy for your life. You feel whole. You feel solid. You realize that you are not a bad person. You are a complete person. And a complete person is capable of great good because they are acting from a place of truth, not fear. We have covered a lot of ground today. I know this can be a difficult topic. It is hard to let go of the idea that we must be perfect. It is hard to look at our flaws and say, this is me too. But I want you to remember this. The goal of life is not to be perfect. The goal of life is to be whole. You are like a painting. A painting needs light colors and dark colors. If you only use white paint, you cannot see the picture. You need the shadows to give the image depth. You need the shadows to make the painting real. You are not a bad person for having dark thoughts. You are not a bad person for having regrets or fears or angry impulses. You are simply a human being in the process of growing. The next time you feel that heavy load of guilt or that fear that you are fundamentally wrong, I want you to take a deep breath. Visualize that basement door. Imagine opening it, just a crack. Imagine saying to the things inside,